During World War II, few military forces inspired as much awe and fear as Germany's Panzer divisions. These heavily armed and fast-moving armored units formed the spearhead of the Blitzkrieg lightning war, strategy that overwhelmed much of Europe in the early years of the war. Fueled by tactical innovation, technological superiority, and ruthless efficiency, Panzer divisions played a central role in shaping the course of the conflict. Origins and evolution. The concept of armored warfare was not new, but Nazi Germany revolutionized it. In the aftermath of World War I, Germany was restricted in its military development by the Treaty of Versailles. However, under Adolf Hitler's regime in the 1930s, rearmament began in secret and then openly. The German military began experimenting with mechanized warfare, influenced in part by British theorists like J.F.C. Fuller and German generals such as Heinz Guderian. By 1939, these ideas coalesced into the creation of Panzer divisions, combined arms units that integrated tanks, mechanized infantry, artillery, and support units into a single, mobile fighting force. Structure of a Panzer division. A typical Panzer division was a self-contained, highly mobile unit, often composed of 1 to 2 Panzer regiments, tanks, 1 mechanized infantry regiment, motorized or armored personnel carriers, artillery battalion, towed or self-propelled guns, reconnaissance units, engineer and anti-tank units, supply and maintenance units. Each division could field 150 to 200 tanks at full strength, though actual numbers varied throughout the war. The integration of infantry and support elements allowed Panzer divisions to operate independently, break through enemy lines, and exploit gaps without waiting for slower infantry divisions. Tanks of the Panzer divisions. German panzers, the word simply means armor, evolved throughout the war. Panzer I and II, light tanks used in early campaigns like Poland and France. Poorly armored and armed. Panzer III and IV, medium tanks that formed the backbone of early mid-war divisions. The Panzer IV in particular proved highly adaptable. Panther, Panzer V introduced in 1943, it had excellent firepower and armor, intended to counter Soviet T-34s. Tiger I and II, heavy tanks with formidable armor and firepower. They were feared by Allied troops but were expensive, slow and prone to mechanical failure. Key campaigns and impact. 1. Blitzkrieg in Poland and France, 1939 to 1940. Panzer divisions shocked the world with rapid and devastating advances. In France, they bypassed the heavily fortified Maginot Line by sweeping through the Ardennes, encircling Allied forces and forcing a swift surrender. 2. Operation Barbarossa, 1941. In the invasion of the Soviet Union, Panzer divisions pushed hundreds of miles into enemy territory, encircling and destroying entire Soviet armies. However, logistical issues, weather, and stiff resistance eventually slowed their advance. 3. North Africa Campaign, 1941 to 1943. Under the command of Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox, Panzer divisions dominated early desert warfare. Their mobility and coordination were well suited to the open terrain. 4. Battle of Kursk, 1943. The largest tank battle in history saw massive panzer formations clash with Soviet armor. Despite their technological edge, the Germans were unable to achieve a breakthrough, and the tide of war began to turn. Strengths and weaknesses. Strengths. Mobility. Panzer divisions could move quickly, allowing Germany to outmaneuver slower enemies. Coordination. Integration of tanks, infantry, and support allowed for seamless battlefield operations. Firepower. German tanks, especially later models, were often superior in armor and armament. Weaknesses. Logistics. Germany lacked the industrial capacity and oil reserves to support sustained armored warfare. Complexity. Advanced tanks like the Tiger were hard to maintain and prone to breakdowns. Air superiority. As the Allies gained control of the skies, panzer movements were increasingly hampered by air attacks. Legacy of the Panzer divisions. Though ultimately defeated, Panzer divisions left a lasting legacy in military history. They demonstrated the potential of combined arms warfare, influenced post-war NATO doctrines, and reshaped how nations think about armored and mechanized units. The fearsome reputation of the Panzer divisions, particularly units like the Panzer Lehr and SS Panzer divisions, lives on in historical memory as symbols of both tactical brilliance and the dark efficiency of the Nazi war machine. Conclusion. Panzer divisions were the steel fists of Hitler's war machine, swift, deadly, and initially unstoppable. They revolutionized ground warfare and gave Germany a powerful edge in the early years of World War II. However, their limitations in logistics and production, combined with determined Allied resistance, ultimately led to their downfall. Still, the image of German tanks thundering across Europe remains one of the most enduring and iconic aspects of the Second World War.